Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Todd Klindt's SharePoint podcast number 280. And I just clicked the wrong thing. 6, recorded live on Monday, March 28th, 2016, from the castle. We've got a new digs. We'll talk about that here in a minute. But I, of course, am, as always, am your host, Todd Klindt. And today I am joined by special guest Mark Watts. Say hello to the folks, Mark.
Hey, everybody.
Yeah, that's Mark right there. And all of this is brought to us by Rackspace, and I keep trying to look where my camera normally is. Brought to you by Rackspace, and we're actually in Rackspace Studios now. I got a fellow Rackspace, a racker here, a guy on my team. But it all couldn't be done without Rackspace. So go out to SharePoint.Rackspace.com, find out about all the great SharePoint products we have. Mark's going to talk a little bit more about those in a minute. And while you're out there, you can go to Rackspace.com/Microsoft and find out about all the other Microsoft products we have. They're also exciting. They're not SharePoint, so they're not quite as cool, but there's a lot of good things out there. So go to Rackspace.com/Microsoft. And then, of course, all of my different places on the internet. There's ToddKlindt.com. There's Twitter @ToddKlindt. There's Instagram @ToddKlindt. Just today, I looked to see what my password was for that. So I might log in sometime and post a picture of my shoe, something like that. All those places. And you can email me at todd.klint@rackspace.com. Yeah, it's all there. And I just realized since I'm not at home, I don't have my thing behind me to remind me what part of the podcast we're on, because I normally flip my slides. So we'll move into the production notes. So last week we had Tony on, and it went pretty well, I think, for our first European interview. Some good stuff there. Some folks got free SP Doc Kit. Last week I had Tony Francola from SP Doc Kit on. Okay. Was telling everybody about that, and then he gave folks free copies of a couple of folks free copies of SP Doc Kit, which really endeared him to the audience.
That's a nice
so
win.
I don't know what you're going to give away. I should have mentioned that earlier, but you've got some big shoes to fill.
Candy.
If you're in San Antonio, Mark will give you candy. You don't even need to get it out of the back of his van or anything. It's all very above board. But so for the production, I'm at the castle right now. I'm at in San Antonio. I had some meetings today. Also, since I started doing this in the afternoon, you guys have gotten to see me with my Rackspace badge on. They've given me a lot of help for that. A lot of times I'll show everybody what my code is.
Well, that's important.
That's
give them your pen while you're at it.
While we're in here. But today, because I had some meetings and I kind of had to dress up, I'm wearing pants, which is something new for the podcast. But I'm also wearing a shirt and a coat. And I wasn't going to wear the coat, but I thought, I'll give you guys the whole thing. So I'm in my Rackspace uniform here because I had some meetings with important people. Didn't want them to be able to see me sweating through my shirt. The big thing.
Now it's the time to make your memes.
Yeah.
Your screen caps.
Yep, like used car salesman memes, any of that. But we're in Rackspace. Rackspace actually has a studio for things like this, for podcasts and radio stuff, and they were kind enough to let me sit in on that. And I forgot one of my laptops, which I know is ridiculous that happens, but I forgot one of my laptops, or else I'd have a better camera and we'd have it setting up and all that. But we're at the studios here, and I'm going to be down here in a couple of weeks for something else, so hopefully by then I'll have my stuff together a little better, and we'll do it from here again, and it will look a little better. But the studio's awesome. They're going to be making some improvements, so I look forward to coming down here and doing the show on Mondays. It's a great place we got here. But I'm traveling, but I will try to get this out in regular time. I go back home Wednesday night, but I'll try to get this all published as quickly as I can. So on to the topics for this week. It's been a busy week. I don't have a lot of new topics, which is why I brought Mark in, so I didn't have to prepare. I told Mark it was because he had a lot of important things to say. That's clearly not the case. It's all a matter of laziness. But I did want to bring up one thing before I let you guys go, and that is that this last week, one of the things that Microsoft announced, and if I forget anything, Mark, you can remind me, but they announced Office 365 connectors. And what these are is ways to bring external content into your Office 365 inbox. And it can be any number of things. So the ones that they talked about, and there's a whole list, I just mentioned the ones that I'm interested in, but Bing, Trello, GitHub, Stack Overflow, Twitter, Salesforce, things like that. So you can have alerts from these other things show up in your inbox in Office 365. Now, for now, it's only for groups, Office 365 groups. So your group inbox, if you've got a GitHub project that you guys are on, when updates come in, you can see that and start the conversation about that. If a Salesforce of leads or whatever come in with that. If somebody tweets about you and says something good, you can reply from there, all that. But it brings all your information into one spot and lets you see it in your inbox and then start working on it in your inbox. right there in Office 365. Now, they've got a bunch of them listed, and I posted in the chat, the blogs.office.com link, so you can read about that. They've got a few 50 or so connections out there now. They're going to add more. And again, right now, it's only for Office 365 groups, but they said that there will be an individual version of it coming, so you'll be able to do that to your individual inbox. So I look at this as an opportunity for more spam, more crap.
Yeah. Now in your groups.
Yeah, now we can get it in our groups or inbox. So if you have Office 365 groups and you want to play with this now, your tenant needs to be in the first release. Has to be a first release tenant, and that's increasingly becoming a good place to have a first release tenant somewhere. Things like this, Planner, all those things are showing up there first. So if you have an Office 365 tenant, and if you don't, you can go sign up for a demo for nothing for 6 months or whatever it is, 3 months. But you need to join first release, and you do that by going into Office 365, log in as an admin user, go into the admin center, and on the left, and I haven't looked at this since I got the new interface out, but settings and updates, and then you're going to see standard updates, and at the bottom you're going to see first release, and you can choose either entire organization or select people. And so that's obvious what that does. If you do entire organization, your entire tenant gets all the first release things. But if you want to control who gets that, if you want just the IT folks to see Planner and these things first, then you can do selected users and tell which users see the first release bits and functionality. But it's good to have, if you can't have an entire tenant dedicated to that, it's good to add some folks so you can start seeing these things when they come in, because then when they hit full availability, you don't want to just be dropping these on your users without playing with them yourself and having some idea where that is. So that's the big thing, the connectors. I'm seeing Microsoft, they're connecting all the things, with the Azure application proxy and this, and they've definitely got their fingers everywhere, and it's a good time. So go ahead and check out connectors, see what that's got for you. Okay. Did you have something to add about that?
Yeah, I was going to say one thing that also happened this week. I haven't got the chance to play with it, but Microsoft made an announcement about their AD Connect Health sync.
Oh, that's
tool.
right. Yeah.
It looks pretty cool. It'll allow you to be able to just do a monitor of your sync. So if anything goes awry, between your AD sync between your on-prem and Office 365, you can kind of see, get some detailed errors there. It looks like it's going to be a cool enhancement.
Yeah, and that so the folks on the podcast know that Azure AD Connect and Azure AD are a couple of things that I've really jumped into a lot in the past year or so, and the health piece is a good piece of that, because I think in a year from now, everybody who's serious about SharePoint and Office 365 is going to be running this. I mean, it's and I've used this analogy before. It is to SharePoint 2016 what PowerShell was to 2010. New technology, scary, but to do our job, you gotta do it.
Jump in there.
It's a thing. So you're gonna have to get up to speed on that. Scott Hoag's in the chat room. If you have any Azure AD questions, you can't stump Scott Hoag. But for those of you that haven't played with Azure AD Connect, go out there. You can create an Office 365 tenant, a demo one for nothing. Azure AD Connect, the software is free. You can go ahead and install that. And then is the health work with the free SKUs of Azure AD, or do you need?
Yes. Yeah. It's checking the engine that the
there you go.
The free AD sync.
So then you'll be able to keep an eye on that. And again, with the Azure AD Connect, that's just doing a dir sync. So it's not obvious when that breaks. If ADFS breaks, you know ADFS broke, because nobody can get anywhere anytime. But if Azure AD Connect breaks, we start these weird things. Somebody doesn't show up, passwords can't log in, and it's good that they've got this out there, because again, it's something everybody's going to need. Everybody's going to use it. So that's good stuff. I have not checked that out yet. I've seen some of the preview stuff that they released. But so it's out now. It's
they made their announcement about it, and they said that they're going to roll it out in new updates. So it should be coming soon.
Excellent. If anybody in the chat room has a link on that, put the link out there, and I'll have Lori put it in the show notes for us. All right, there we go. So there's Scott Hoag. There you go. Scott Hoag to the rescue. So I'll put that in the show notes. For those of you listening to the audio, you can go to toddklindt.com/podcast286, and all the notes for all the things I talk about will show up in there. So, okay, and so Scott is also saying that the Azure AD Connect Health requires Azure AD Connect or Azure Active Directory Premium. I thought that was the case.
That's the paid for version.
Yeah, that's the not free version. And I thought that was the case. I thought that was one of the.
Get Azure AD Premium. So that's correct.
There we go. And while I can see all the benefits of Azure AD Premium, it's a little pricey. So before you get too excited about those features, make sure and check it out and check your wallet, check your couch. You might might have to save up a little bit. All right, so Mark, you've already jumped in, and I haven't been switching the video over to you very much, but so I will. So the guy sitting to my left here, and you're just gonna have to take my word for it that he's to my left. Yep, left. Mark Watts, he's a fellow racker. I've been on the team with him and on various teams with him for, I think, the entire time I've been here at Rackspace. Yep. He is on the SharePoint product team with me, and he's one of the guys that's helping shape what our products look like going forward. So I thought I would bring him on to talk a little bit about SharePoint 2016, what we're doing with it, what he's experienced. He's been hitting it pretty heavy. So I'm turning the camera over to you. Good looking.
All right.
So I guess the first thing is you've been installing Azure or SharePoint 2016 a lot lately. What are some of the things? What are a couple of things you'd like the crowd to know about? To look, things you've stumbled on, things that are cool. What's new?
Yeah, I guess one of the benefits of my current job as a product engineer is to kind of research and develop new products, and SharePoint 2016 is one of those new product offerings. So for the past 3 months, I've had the opportunity to just play with 2016 over and over and over. Done more installs than I can count at this point. I would say with this release, SharePoint, it's really a fine-tuned version of SharePoint 2013 in a lot of ways. They took everything that they learned about running SharePoint 2013 in the cloud at huge scale and kind of put those features and things they learned into the on-prem version.
Yeah, and that's something. So being a SharePoint guy for a decade now, that's something we've always told them. Us folks in the trenches are like, here's what you need to know about your product, and they were like, nah, we talked to our 3 favorite customers. They're not having that problem. So it is good now that they've been running it for a few years. There's some vindication for some of the things we've been telling them.
Absolutely, and when you think about what buzzworthy features are there, whiz bang things to get people excited. I think from an admin standpoint, definitely the MinRoll functionality and the zero downtime patching are probably the big things.
All right. Give us like a two sentence, 3-sentence overview of what MinRoll is.
MinRoll is best practices in SharePoint 2013 that you had to do manually, wrapped up into code to be done automatically. So
excellent.
When you do an install, you pick a role that you want that server to be in the farm, whether it be front end, app, search, things we're very used to doing as a SharePoint administrator.
Yep.
But with MinRoll, there's actually code built in that makes that server know what services it's supposed to run and how it's supposed to perform.
Gotcha. So one thing I want to clarify. So while you do, it's not an install thing, so it's not a bit thing. It's a role in the farm thing.
Correct.
Yeah, so it's essentially a services on server, service instances check, yeah.
So, and it allows for some neat things to happen, such as the zero downtime patching.
Okay.
So when you have MinRoll built out in a fully HA configuration,
all right,
there's nothing stopping you from just running your CUs at 3 o'clock in the afternoon on a Friday if you're that brave.
If you're drunk enough, yeah.
Yes, the users will not see a break in service. So.
Gotcha. So tell me. So I know the HA story with MinRoll gets a little hairy. Explain what that looks like and what the potential problems with it are.
The potential problems is the number of servers you have to have.
All right.
So for a full HA MinRoll farm, you're looking at a minimum of 9 servers in your farm.
A minimum of 9.
Correct. So it depends.
Which is good for folks like us in the hosting business. We thank you, Microsoft.
If you want just a fully functional MinRoll farm, then all you have to have is 4 servers.
Okay.
But for the HA, you have to have 2 front ends, 2 apps, 2 search, and 3 distributed cache. The distributed cache needs a quorum there.
Right.
So if you're one of these environments that have volume licensing and you have your own private infrastructure where you can spin up 9 VMs easily, it's probably something you might want to look into.
Right.
But it just depends on your circumstances.
Yeah. So and just because this is one of the things that we kind of thought about but hadn't really put The minimum number of machines in your farm, not the minimum number, 9.
And that's not even discussing AD or SQL or Office
That's
Online
just
Server.
your farm, just your SharePoint farm. And I'm kind of pedantic about this. When I talk about SharePoint farm, my definition of that is servers with SharePoint installed on them.
Yeah.
One or more servers using the same config DB. So yeah, 9 SharePoint servers in your farm. So imagine we've got our 9 servers. Imagine you came to Rackspace and you got the thing and you were able to find the money in the budget. You got your 9 servers. Tell us how that impacts patching and how that does the zero downtime patching.
So yeah, the big thing with 2016 is that when you do the CU update and you've installed those bits and you go to run the configuration wizard, the databases are no longer locked.
Excellent.
The services on SharePoint still stop, however, when you're running that
actual
configuration.
Pull the code out. Yep.
So that's why you have to have a redundant copy. And they have to be in this min row configuration so that everything kind of knows what it is and where everything needs to go to.
Right.
So that's the thing there. But because nothing is being locked, as long as there's a redundant copy, users can still hit their sites. They won't get anything about it's in read-only mode or anything like that. They'll be able to continue on their merry way.
Right. So one of the things that's new with SharePoint 2016 is you talked about it a little bit, the intelligent routing that Rackspace is a farm. When a user request comes in, instead of trying to figure out which server is working the least hard, it will try to keep the user requests in as few places as possible, so there's not the machine-to-machine thing. So that shows an overarching intelligence of the farm topology from the farm standpoint. So yeah, you're right. Once you start patching machines, it's smart enough to know, hey, that machine, we need to push everybody over to this machine.
And you can kind of do that now with host records, but it's not guaranteed. There's always the possibility it could go somewhere else.
Yeah, and so this gives it a much more intelligent interface to that. So what impact does patching have if you don't have a minimum number of machines? Let's say you've only got 2 web front end and 2 app and 1 search. What's the patching story look like?
In that situation, you're still going to be fine, but as you went to run the configuration wizard on that search box that you just had one of, search may be incremental at that point because the search service is being recycled.
Right.
So it may not be a totally down situation, it might just be a partial down situation.
Yeah, and I think for me, having played with patching, there's a lot of bits and pieces moving, but for me, the real thing is the config DB doesn't get locked when you run the config wizard. That's kind of the thing that makes it all possible. And so once that doesn't happen, because before you could shut all the web, shut the app services off on a box, patch it, and nobody would know. Yeah. Shut the web front end, service off on a box, patch it, nobody would know. You could do all those things manually, but at the end, when you ran that config wizard,
it's done.
The config DB got locked, and you had some amount of downtime. But now they've taken that out, so now we can actually do the thing.
Yeah. So I think that's the big thing from an admin standpoint. Your users are probably going to be most excited about the durable links and DLP, data loss protection.
All right, so talk a little bit about durable links and DLP.
Durable links, people are still doing it. They're just they're putting something on SharePoint and they're emailing the link to the team site that it lives on.
Yep.
And that's probably always going to be the way it's done. And
I'm just glad they're not actually emailing the document. We've moved. It's only taken 15 years, but we've.
So the big question is, what happens when that link moves?
Right.
Your bookmark doesn't work anymore. That link in that email doesn't work anymore. Durable links allows for that link to continue working even after that document has been moved to a different site or a different place in your current site.
Excellent, excellent. So do the links have the same format, or are they different somehow that SharePoint can route them? What do the links look like?
So they're actually a WAPI URL.
Oh, yeah?
So which means that they require Office Online Server.
Our minimum of 9 servers.
So that's how it works. Because it's using that WAPI URL, it doesn't, at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter because it points to the same render URL, and
gotcha.
Wherever you move it, it'll still show up.
Gotcha. So I don't know, and maybe you guys will, and they're giggling in the chat room about WAPI, because that is such a ridiculous.
Alabama is where I'm originally from. I've seen some bets are being taken on my accent.
So I thought it was Tennessee. I thought you had a Tennessee accent.
I was born in Alabama and moved up to Knoxville.
When did you move to Knoxville?
When I was an adult, after the accent had been fully formed.
Son of a, because we've had this discussion before. Because obviously I have no accent. I speak the Queen's English. But the Texans here make fun of his accent, and I get involved with that. That's a lot of fun. So we've had many discussions about Mark's accent, and I thought it was Tennessee, but Lori, being from Alabama, she
can tell one.
She sussed it out right away. She's like, nope, that's below, but no. I feel like growing up in the Midwest, I've missed out on the whole accent thing.
Well, it's not fair. Everyone makes fun of the Southern accent. If it was an Irish accent or a London accent,
yeah. But not a Cockney accent, not the My Fair Lady accent. So yeah, I miss out on it. So that. So being an Iowan working for a company that is predominantly in Texas, there are two things that I miss out on. Number one, I don't have a cool accent. Number two, I don't have a beard. So you guys will notice Mark's got the beard there. It is not uncommon for me to be in a meeting, and we do video meetings everywhere at Rackspace here. It's not uncommon for me to be in a meeting and be the only clean-faced guy in the meeting, the only one. Everybody can grow a beard but me, especially get somebody from Austin on there, and then it's the big beards that
you're out of your league there.
Yeah, I couldn't do it. And I don't know if I've told this story in the podcast or not, but I am just physically incapable of growing facial hair. For whatever reason, at that age, 13, 14, when all the other boys wouldn't think, I missed out on all that. But there was a time a few years ago, like 10 or 12 years ago, where I couldn't shave for a month. I had some stuff on my face. I couldn't shave for a month. And if you guys ever watched Beavis and Butthead and saw that episode where Beavis glued hair to his face, that looked better than my facial hair did at the time. But when the 30 days was up, my wife had gone to work in the morning, and it was the day that I could shave. And she'd gone to work, and so I went and shaved everything except for where the goatee would be if I were physically capable of growing a goatee, which I'm not. And I took a picture of it, and then, of course, shaved it all off. And I sent it to her. I'm like, hey, I think with a month of growth, I think this looks pretty good. I think I'm going to keep it. And so my wife is an incredibly nice woman. And so the soft pedaling on the email, she's like, they're not going to be used to it. I think
that's a good idea.
If you haven't gotten to work yet, you should turn around and go. It was pretty funny. So yeah, the accent and the facial hair, I can't do.
We all have our own gifts.
Yeah, I can't be perfect. I guess this is the thing. I can't be great at everything. So I'll give up the facial hair thing. So you also mentioned DLP. So I think that the durable links. Again, we didn't talk about this when we were talking about our 9 server minimums, but that runs through the Office Online servers, the new Office web apps, which is the new what were they before that? It was the Office web apps, the WAX, the web access components. Yeah. So again, new version, new name. Microsoft loves to pull that gag on us. So this is the in-browser versions of all this kind of stuff. So having played with all this, how important do you think the Office web apps are in a SharePoint 2016 farm?
I would say they're incredibly important this time around because of one caveat. Excel Services has been moved from SharePoint 2016 into Office Online Server.
Yes. So that was a problem that we had with the previous version of SharePoint, or previous couple versions. We had Excel Services, which did all the crazy calculation things and put web parts in that would do. The only thing I ever saw was simple mortgage calculators, because that was like the example everybody gave. That was Excel Services, and that was in SharePoint. Correct. But if you wanted the Excel web app, that was in the Office web app servers. And you got to that conflict of what does SharePoint do with XLSX files, because it couldn't go both places. Yeah. And so now all of that is...
It's all into OOS now.
Yeah. So, and honestly, having seen the 2013 version of the Office web apps, I've been telling everybody for 3 years now, you have to have the Office web apps. For the in-browser search rendering and the fact you can hover over a document library and see previews, you gotta have that. And so I think they've just upped that game.
Definitely.
A little bit more. So that's good. So I hijacked you. You're getting ready to tell us about DLP. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that's been in Office 365 for a while. It's basically just something that lets you protect data from getting deleted that shouldn't be deleted. So you also have the Compliance Center that has been around before.
Yep.
But when you put DLP together with it, you can have your legal team doing these kind of searches for data that should not be deleted. Maybe there's a subpoena and they need to find everything that's happening.
Or laws that say we have to keep certain things around for 7 years and that kind of stuff.
So you can do those searches, find if those things are around, and DLP allows those things to be locked down. It also allows you to like search your SharePoint infrastructure for, does someone have a team site where they're uploading everyone's social security number or credit card information? So it protects you in that form. And this is a thing that up until now has required third-party tools. So now it's just kind of built in, and it looks exactly the same as the Office 365 version.
Excellent. So we've talked about this a bunch on this, and it's an ongoing theme. SharePoint 2016 server, the on-prem version, has been in beta now for 2 or 3 years as SharePoint Online.
Pretty much, yeah.
So yeah, and that's one of the things that Microsoft is kind of struggling with, or not struggling with, but one of the things they have to figure out is which of the online services do we want to put in server, which ones can we technically do, and which ones do we want to do from a market differentiation standpoint and all that. So it's things like DLP and all that, it's never a given, because you just never know where that's going to fit. And then there's things like Delve and the Office Graph that just will never likely be on-prem products because there's just too much behind them.
And when you start talking about the hybrid situation, that you open up a whole new world, and I think that's a big gain with SharePoint 2016 as well, is what they've done with hybrid.
Yeah. What are your favorite pieces of the hybrid story?
I think my favorite piece now is that it's easier to set up.
Yeah. Yep.
So, to be honest, I really like what's happening with the hybrid story, and it's the thing that makes me the most excited.
Yeah.
Because I think at the end of the day, for one reason or the other, people are going to need their on-prem SharePoint boxes.
Yes.
That's not going to change.
Nope.
But there is going to be a need where people want to lower their infrastructure footprint. And they want to do both. And hybrid allows them to do that. So they can take advantage of things like having everybody's OneDrive for Business up on Office 365 and let them have a terabyte of space up there instead of having to worry about it on their data center.
Yeah, how to size for it and all those messes.
Right.
Upgrading it, because those things never upgrade well.
Exactly. So they can do all of that. And then with the hybrid piece and with the search piece, you can bring it all together, find what you want, no matter where it's at, where it lives, and get to it easily as well. With hybrid sites, you can just follow a site, whether it be on-prem or an Office 365, and go to your site's page and just get a nice little presentation of everything that's important to you. And that'll all show up in things like Delve and Group. So like you said, Delve is probably something that is never coming to on-prem as far as I know, when you look at how Delve is made. But with hybrid, you can use Delve with your on-prem content.
Yeah, get up and search. So Scott Hogue in the chat room mentions hybrid.office.com. That's kind of the landing point for all things hybrid. And yeah, the ease of it, I'm with you. I have to word this carefully. There's not a lot of new hybrid things with SharePoint 2016 that we couldn't do previously. But now that we've got the little hybrid center and all that, it's not going out to PowerShell and doing these complicated server-to-server trusts and all this. It's a lot better story than it was a couple of years ago.
Yeah, the new hybrid picker, and technically it will work with 2013 if your CU is high enough. But it's kind of one of those things that works better together with SharePoint 2016. The new hybrid picker is just so neat that you can just run a wizard, and it handles your OAuth. It handles your server-to-server authentication. It'll even configure your my site redirection for you. It's that seamless.
It's been fun watching that whole thing progress over the years. And you mentioned being excited, and that was one of the things. So Mark has been, how long have you been doing SharePoint?
6 years now.
6 years, okay. So through the time that I've been at Rackspace, Mark was an admin for a while, then you did branding and UI stuff for a while, and you kind of moved around. And there was a time there 3 or 4 years ago where SharePoint's future was kind of fuzzy.
Yes.
And as a SharePoint admin, SharePoint was just downright, the future was downright terrifying.
Yes.
Because we didn't know what was going to happen, and it was impossible to be excited. It was impossible to even be able to sleep at night because we just didn't know what was happening. And I'm with you now that hybrid, Microsoft, the pendulum has swung back into hybrid. First it was on-prem, and then it was everything to Office 365, and now they've kind of found a reasonable spot.
I think they've found the right middle.
Yeah. Now I'm excited, and I'm excited about the same kind of things you are. Hybrid and Azure AD Connect and getting all those things connected. There's just a lot of fun opportunities in there.
Absolutely.
So hopefully we'll be able to keep you around on the admin side for a while now. You're not going to go be a dev or whatever.
Well, you know, I know how you feel about devs, so I'll stay away from that.
But so yeah, there's a lot to be excited about. And again, several years ago, it was not that story, but I feel very good. There was a time where my faith wavered a little bit, and I thought about maybe embracing another technology, moving over to other teams here at Rackspace, and I had a crisis of faith, but I stayed the course, and I'm glad that I did. I've not, in the last year for sure, I've not regretted that decision.
I think of anything, SharePoint 2016 is kind of Microsoft saying that we're committed to the on-prem world.
Yeah, there's no, because there was talk, and I don't even know how recently it was, but whether there was going to be any more SharePoint and what it was going to be like, and whether they were going to really put anything in SharePoint Server and all that. And I think we know the answer to that. I think they're in it for the long haul. So that's good. So we're kind of coming up on time. I try to keep this to 30 minutes or so. Do you have anything else you want to tell the folks about, SharePoint-wise, things you've stumbled across?
The only other thing is I'm also kind of excited about the future of SharePoint in Azure.
All right.
Talk about that quickly. You know, I think Microsoft has been real fuzzy about what they really recommend being on Azure and what they
fuzziness,
don't. Yeah. But recently they've come out and said, sure, there's nothing wrong with running production SharePoint in Azure.
Yeah, and the thing about that is there has been a lot of demand for it. We've seen it. And I've seen it from other people at conferences and all that kind of stuff. People want to run SharePoint in Azure, but like you said, there was not a good story for Microsoft about what was supported, what would work, what could work. And yeah, in the last month or so, that's gotten focused.
So from what I've seen in that, it's fully possible, but just like anything, you need to size correctly for it.
Yeah.
You need to make sure that the performance is there, and because at the end of the day, it is a public cloud, you need to work around that to build your infrastructure to fit those needs. But the amazing thing about it is what it could do from an automation standpoint at the end of the day.
Yeah, and we've got some cool things going on with that, and time kind of got away from me, so I won't have a chance to talk to you about it. But maybe I'll bring you back. If I'm here in a couple of weeks on Monday, we can talk about that, because the sizing thing and the automation pieces, there's some really fun things in there that as hosting folks, we've been able to take advantage of. So there's some good things there. So, all right, Mark. Well, thanks for joining us. And again, I'll have to bring you back on. Since I do this in the middle of the day, if I bring you on, it gets you out of work.
That's true. It's always a plus.
So maybe I'll.
Or just gives me more work for later.
There we go. However you want to look at that. So I'll definitely bring you back on. So for the folks in the chat room and our other listeners, we'll move on now to the promotion standpoint. So we got the same kind of things. In 3 weeks now, I think, April 16th through the 22nd, I'm going to be at Dev Intersection in Orlando, Florida. You can go to devintersection.com and register for that. If you do, you can use the promotional code Klindt. That will give you $50 off of your registration. That will give me $50 right in my pocket. The IRS doesn't need to know about it or anything like that. It goes right into my pocket. And hopefully will give me bragging rights in that more folks will use my code than Lori's code, which is coincidentally also Klindt. That's Klind as in Delta, T as in Tango. Don't mess that up. And Dev Intersection. So I'll be doing a couple sessions there, and I believe both my sessions are on Tuesday. When I agreed to do this, I was going to be busy Wednesday back home, so I need to kind of fly in and fly out. But if you're going to be at Dev Intersection, come find me. Of course, go to my sessions, but come find me, introduce yourself, say hello. I'd love to chat with you. And that will be in there. If you're in the chat room, ignore the hooligans in there that are trying to get you to use less cool promotional codes than Klindt. That's your mother would like you to use the promotional code Klindt if you haven't signed up already. And that is April 16th through the 22nd. And then in June, I will be at SP TechCon in Boston. That is June 27th through the 30th. And I'll be doing a couple sessions there. I've got that information, but I haven't looked that up yet. And I don't know what my schedule is going to be like there. I haven't booked that travel yet. But of course, if you're at SP TechCon, come find me. And also, I will be speaking at at a user group here. I just got the information about that today, but I'll put that up there. It's not one that you can watch online, but I want to get you excited about it. So it's the Oklahoma City SharePoint user group. I spoke there a couple of months ago. I'm going to be talking to those guys about PowerShell with Office 365. So very popular session. The people love it. There's a lot of mules in Oklahoma. They love it. It's a big hit all the way around. So, all right. So thanks everybody. Just went a couple of minutes over chat room. I'm going to stick around for a couple of minutes and I'll say hi to you guys again. Mark, thanks for swinging by.
Having me. Appreciate it.
And I will see you guys next week. Regular time, regular channel. Thanks everybody. Have a good afternoon.